All right, Jason, we chatted a little bit before about texture leveling and then texture matching, and we have an example here. Talk to me.
Yeah, so what this is demonstrating the difference between texture leveling procedure and a texture matching procedure, two totally different things. And sometimes a customer is asking for a very flat, show car.
Yep, show car finish
with no orange peel, no texture. So this procedure here on this side demonstrates that kind of texture leveling. On this side, we're demonstrating a scenario where, let's say you have an isolated scratch, and the paint around it has some texture, but traditional sanding approaches would level that.
So you'd have like a line where the scratch was, you'd have a very flat line. The rest of it is all orange peel, but flat right here. And the guy's like, you took the scratch out, but now you flatten the paint.
Yeah, it doesn't look right. Yeah. It's flat here and the texture. So, and sometimes in that scenario, that gets the detail in trouble because the customer says, well, I really like how flat it is now.
You took the scratch out, but you left
it. Can you do it on the rest of my car? And
yeah.
Like, oh, no.
Yeah.
So this technology, in this finishing disc with this foam interface layer in the sanding process here, allows you to roll over the peaks and valleys, remove an isolated scratch in one particular area, but roll over the texture and not remove it.
So all the orange peel, there's a scratch amongst it, inside of it there, and then you're going to take that out, but you're still going to keep all this orange.
Texture, which is powerful for a detailer, because then you can go away from these other approaches like hand sanding aggressively and flatten that paint, or grinding it down with a wool pad and a rotary and a compound.
Because then you basically chase. I feel like if you do one little scratch and it's on a panel, you hand sand that out, it becomes flat, and you're like, oh God, there's orange peel, let me flatten that whole thing, and you basically start going around the entire car chasing it.
Exactly.
So this is cool.
Much less invasive, and by the way, this, in a situation like we were or are on the Mustang, if you have thin paint and you want to try and leave as much paint on the car as possible, this is an approach that allows you to do that.
So what did you do over here?
Well, what we got here is what we call a step-down panel. This shows the progression of our entire procedure from start to finish. These are the defects we started with, the texture, the scratches.
The original paint.
Yep, water, watermarks, everything that we started with. Then this is our sanding step. Then we progress to the compound step. So underneath this compound step, we had sanding marks that we removed.
That look like this.
That look like this. We removed the sanding marks. Then we did a polish step here, where we removed any of the compound marks. So it shows this whole progression. Now what's interesting here is the paint thickness changes as you go through this process, because to remove these defects, we are removing a microscopic layer of paint.
Which actually is what Kevin was talking about, which is the residue, which is part of that residue.
We're pulling off the paint, and now it's loading up on your pad, and that's what we're cleaning off.
And we can prove it.
Yeah, we can show that actually. This device is measuring the entire film build here. We've got that measurement.
Yep.
And then we go from that to this.
Oh yeah, that's about a mil or so.
And then moving from the sanding mark removal, we'll go to this. And here is the final result.
Oh yeah, actually it's stepped down every single time. That's amazing.
Time. Yep. So that, and if you think that was kind of geeky and fun to look at that kind of progression on paint, let's check this out.
Guys, we're using the MacBook Air and the Dynalight to see the paint beforehand. So what are you on right now?
Well, here we're going to show the defects before we started anything. And as you can see, we have those scratches, texture, all kinds of stuff in
So that's the original paint that was on there that we're wet sanding off, and I mean, it's really kind of nasty.
Yeah. And then we're going to show the sanding step, so you'll see what a sanding mark looks like real close. It's kind of hard to see this because it just kind of whited out, but it's a very uniform, shallow, even defect, which is why it doesn't show up very well on
No, that's great. It's white. So then we move over to compounding.
And this was the compounding step, and as you can see, it's not 100% defect free, but you see a little bit of scratching here and there and a little bit of a haziness. So that's
typical. That's typical from a compound, right?
They removed the sanding mark, which is what its goal was, and then we're going to have one more step here to improve the paint even more.
And the cool part is you can see Look, just a little mark there, maybe a little dust, but there's nothing there. So pretty interesting. If that doesn't, we're not nerding out now. I'm not really sure what we're doing. Something real quick. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're showing me da da da.
Not that bad.
Just want to make sure my head.